Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome students. Today we are going to discuss regarding this post-mining environmental care, that is to make a sustainability plan. One of the most important issue that we need to take care of is our biodiversity. So today we will be discussing about this biodiversity restoration. By now all of you know what this biodiversity means, but we will be looking into it, how biodiversity monitoring is necessary for a post-mining environmental care. But as you know that biodiversity supports our human and societal needs. Exactly around us there are so many different type of living and non-living things, and together they develop an ecosystem and which exactly provide us our food and nutrition security. And then whatever we derive for our energy security or whatever we need for our well-being with the medicines and all for our good health, not only of us and of the planet, everything is exactly available in nature. So we need to strengthen our system in such a way that the biodiversity can strengthen our economic opportunities and we can sustain our business and we can live. So we need to take care of the biodiversity so that after mining our biodiversity is not damaged, and that's why the restoration of the biodiversity, which is normally a very slow process, it takes over a long time, and we will have to do certain activities during our mining, as well as we will have to do a lot of things in our post-mining period, so that we can ensure at least our the biodiversity is restored. And for that, ensuring a baseline study, that means whatever you are going to do, for that we will have to scientifically establish in which way we should monitor it, and then so that our envisaged result can be achieved. And for that exactly we will have to take this concept of our nature positive. That nature positive is enhancing the resilience of our planet. That means whatever damage we are doing to it, it is restoring its positions. That is, it's again started providing the means of our living that the nature is giving us. So this nature positiveness, how can we bring it? So that is, the mining companies they need to set a goal to become a nature positive company, and that can be done by conserving and rehabilitating at least 3 hectares of land every 1 hectare of land that has been taken up for their business operations. Mining activities, as we have seen, that is as per the guideline also certain provisions are given, that you provide some amount of rupee as an escrow fund, and we feel that by that way we will be able to restore. Now we need to revisit that. If for every hectare of this our damaged land we are restoring and rehabilitating and doing for 3 hectares, that will have to be seen that whatever the way the valuation is kept, whether it will be possible or not. Now these lectures will be discussing about biodiversity, and so that after the lecture you should be able to discuss the needs and approaches of biodiversity management in a post mining site. So you must be able to write an essay on this and then explain the needs of strategic planning to run business with biodiversity care. So, what is that biodiversity care that must be taken? For that also we will be throwing some light, but you will have to do a lot of additional study for developing your grip on this subject. So, you know that biodiversity, as I have said, it is this all the different kinds of life that is all around us. There are not only the big trees and plants, but there are microorganisms, and there are some very small, that is your, otherwise we don't know what they are doing. They are lying around our that houses, but they have also a role to play. That small ants which is running in your floor may be doing certain work that you do not know. So, that is why this biodiversity, which all its insects and everything, they have developed a big network, which is exactly is a very important for our sustainability. So, biodiversity is exactly what is given by the nature. It is one thing is to be noted, that biodiversity is not a static thing. You don't think that whatever is there around is been remaining forever and will be remaining. It is a dynamically changing things. So, its composition, structures, its functions, all these things, they do change with the way we use them and that way it will be coming. So, that is why understanding the dynamics, that what is going on in that, and so that our future activities, our future aspirations will have to be put over there. So, when we talk about what is biodiversity, that diversity means a variety, and that variety will be there in our genes, in our different species, which will be your livestock, it could be crops, and then overall ecosystems will be coming, and then they have got a value. That when we talk about these values, we will have to also find out that if we use and if we indiscriminately start extracting the values from this, then there would be biodiversity loss. And then when we talk about the biodiversity restoration, these losses will have to be known. Then this loss is the habitat loss, that is what is around us, some of them may be getting lost, maybe because of some invasive species. So, now what happens, sometimes say in our mining land, that normally you will find a lot of sal trees, but you cannot develop a sal forest rapidly. So, what you bring for covering it to make it green, you will have to do certain, you will be giving some species you will be bringing, but sometimes they themselves can become a invasive species. That means they will not allow others to grow. Sometimes that secunda, which is now everywhere planted, it grows so much that because of those secundas, it may not be possible that whatever the originally natural flora was there in that place may not come back. So, that another thing is that there could be the effect of this climate change on the climate. There could be a lot of information, a lot of problem may come, that biodiversity, they will be forcing the climate change, and you have seen this 2022, the way Europe is having the hot and worst summer, for which all the countries were never prepared for it. So, that is to be done. Then next is that over harvesting. If you take more of the things, then it can give you a problem. So, you will have to take as much is exactly possible. So, then similar way, this biodiversity can be lost due to you are causing pollution. When the mining tailings will be going over there into the river, then they may be creating a different type of that, all the aquatic parts, they may not be there altogether. So, then when we will have to do that, if this is happening, it has value, we are using it, and because of our using and because of indiscriminate uses, it is getting lost, then there must be a conservation process, and which exactly will have to keep our life support system properly our food, water, energy, clothes, medicine, recreation, all are provided because this biodiversity is there. So we will have to look into these aspects, and then when you do the conservations, you will be knowing that what is our conservation status, and that will be governed by different laws and treaties, and this biodiversity of the whole planet ultimately will have to be ensured. And then all the, not only the mining companies, the society, your civil laws, the way our townships are managed, and everything is a part of it. So we have seen that our biodiversity is very, very important, and that will be exactly will be giving us our life support system, and that's why that we'll have to acknowledge that what are the ecosystem services that exactly biodiversity provides. Basically, it will be our climate stabilizations. Biodiversity has got a lot of things to do, and then because the how much amount of rainfall will be coming, how much exactly the Earth's surface temperature will be changing, because say if there is a not good green cover, then the Earth's surface from there the green cover will be making a layer with the fallen leaves and biomass, which will exactly retain the water, because the evaporation loss will be reduced, and by that exactly the life supporting system of the soil will retain, and then through that it is exactly doing the climate stabilizations. If you do not have the green cover, then there will be that our Earth's surface, it will slowly become dry, and then it will become non-supportive to the trees, and then our whole climate, it will get changed. Similarly, that also the different insects, different microorganisms, they help in decomposing the material which is lying over there, and from there they give a different life support system, a cyclic way it is there. And you know about the pollination. If there are no bees, honey bees or butterflies, there will not be fruits and crops. So that's why that we will have to maintain our food chain. That production of food chain is a big services which we always acknowledge as an ecosystem service. Now ecosystem near mining areas are under a tremendous stress, because what is happening whenever you are doing a lot of surface mining, your water drainage network gets changed, and that's why they all get affected, your agriculture, forestry, everything. So the most important thing which has happened over the years in recent past is in growth of townships and urbanization has destroyed the watersheds. This watershed, which was a part of our ecosystem and part of our biodiversity, was retained because of the watersheds. You talk of any city today, you will find that there hardly the watershed has been maintained. Many watershed has got destroyed, and this requires a little bit bigger attention along with our mining affected areas. Good and productive landscape design and management is the key to water flow, biodiversity and climate mitigation and adaptations, but this is often neglected. Our biodiversity oriented township and urban planning, biodiversity oriented mine planning, biodiversity oriented industrial development, or our green that is our smart city development is yet to realize. And then another thing, that our whole biodiversity, it does not mean only we are talking about the mining and other area. The world's 80% of our living things are there in the oceans, and then whatever is happening onto the earth, ultimately with rainwater, rivers and all are carried back to the ocean. So that ocean and the biodiversity also need to be looked into. So that is your bigger picture, because that global biodiversity status, it is a big concern, and there had been all that your United Nations have initiated lot of study and on this conservation of nature, and in that they have found that what are the different type of living things are there on the earth and then how they are exactly getting endangered. So, different species like your birds that you can see these ranges, it is saying that how many types of species are now getting endangered and things. So, I request you kindly go through a little bit of exploring into how this biodiversity being studied across the world, and then they are trying to find out that even some of the microorganisms and all which are getting that almost extinct, and with that there will be a different type of problem. But we need to keep our attention towards biodiversity because it has got a lot of economic value. Then whether you are using that thing or you are not using biodiversity, if it is not directly being used, but still it will be indirectly, it will be giving a lot of services to you. So, this aspect is also not a part of our discussions today, but I advise you that please go to find out what are the economic value, because when we will be talking about our mining impact on the biodiversity, we will have to see that how this management can be economically viable, at the same time it will be doing the services. So, for that this is a very big interdisciplinary area where you will have to work, because what happens normally, because of mining you can get the biodiversity loss. That biodiversity loss is one of the reason is your acid mine drainage, because many of the pyritic and other, that is your sulfur containing material which is coming, and then when they work with water and air they give this acid, and when this acid goes then exactly a lot of biodiversity loss takes place, because in an acidic environment many that your microorganisms and plants they cannot go over there. So, this biodiversity loss also, the land use pattern get changed, because you have taken out the topsoil and you have exactly over there you have spread some of the rocks and that material which are at a lower horizon of the earth crust, which do not support living things. So, that is why that change takes place. Now, when your biodiversity loss in the mining regions can take place directly, that will be impacts on the human health and the ecological health, and then indirectly that, as we say, that ecosystem services are rendered by that biodiversity, and because of those ecosystem changes your livelihood, income, local, that is your the people how they are living over there, and then their migrations take place, and lot of political conflict may be coming because of this your indirect effect of doing in the biodiversity. Lot of socio-economic problems are also related to, but directly many species may get extended, that can get totally destroyed, and then many of the reptiles and this many amphibian populations will be lost from there. That climate change will be coming, the forest will get damaged, some of the local people's business trades, those get totally destroyed. Then if we do not maintain the biodiversity in say Arunachal, that spices which are coming from there will never go. Similarly, if the biodiversity if that coastal that your pleasure deposits are mined and processed, and that it indiscriminately spread, maybe many of the spices will not grow in Kerala. So, that is why a local trades may get affected. Then that fish stocks, that will be having a tremendous problem, and then this year if your sea and ocean and the coastal area is damaged, that is the fish productions will get affected. Then the forests, say for example in Goan minings, after the mining operations over there, some of the hilltops are cut, then the way that will be bringing type of this your water problems and all in all hilltop mining will be suffering. So like that, your forest to remain sustainable, to give profit to it, also will have to see that the mining is not done indiscriminately, and it will, if you misuse this land, and then there will be coming exactly we can go into such a biodiversity loss that cannot be retained, and that you can see over here. this is exactly a Jaria coalfield in 1985, how it looked like from a, you can see in Google Earth. So there are lot of Mahatman villages, trees and all these things were there in 1985. Now when we saw it is in your 2013, this area colorations you can change now, that means the things started all changing. And then when we see in 2022, exactly all these forests and the foreign hutments and everything is lost, that area. So by using remote sensing and GIS is a good tool from where you can find out. Same thing you can see in the, this is the Kiriburu Begataburu area of shale mining. You can see in this 2005 picture that there were so many this forests, and then this it is a deep forest. Inside that forest the mining is going on. Now you can see here what happens in 2012. This area got developed. Now that all the trees and everything they have gone from these places. You can see that this dense forest of the past has gone. This area started now getting disturbed on these things. And then when you see today that these are whole, every area, this area is fully devoid of the biodiversity. So this whole area, there were definitely a habitat of a lot of things. This is being a high rainfall area, high that is your thick forestry, salt forestry, native things. Now in these areas, when some exotic species will be coming and all, that this land may not be in future once again this, but it may be if we can take proper actions over that. So that's why biodiversity loss will be caused by many things. That is, sometimes you can remember that this HICOP, that habitat loss, invasive species, climate change, over harvesting and pollution that I told you earlier, these exactly will be causing this type of habitat loss, as you have seen in a mining, when the mining work is going on, that habitat will be lost. And then these are that actually acacia is coming up and they are growing all over in your Saranda forest. Now that in the Saranda forest, when it is full of this acacia, that weather, once again that salt tree, and below the salt tree so many herbal and medicinal herbs come up. Whether they will become or not is a good question. Now this and the climate change will be taking place when the mining tailing dam collapse, so that exactly because of the high extreme rainfall and water, and then if this type of situation comes, there will be a big things, because these are all related. Your local biodiversity and the global climate change, there is also relationship, and because there is over harvesting is taking place everywhere, people they do you can see that how palm tree is going. Now even in the recent past that there are attempts that some of the people are now trying that there should be palm oil tree in some of the Assam areas, that in the Assam land where lot of different type of crops and foods can be grown, and their hills, if it is cleared and palm oil trees are coming, that can give a such type of future problem we can hardly imagine now. Same thing is, it has happened in Indonesia and other places in many of the islands where, and also in Mexico and in that area, that a lot of forests have been harvested, and now they are going to do a palm oil type of plantations for the immediate gain in the human business. And then the pollution, this is of course in Papua New Guinea, the oak teddy mines, that copper gold mine, which has got this their concentration plant and beneficiation plant, they produces lot of this mercury cyanide content material are coming to the river, and you can see that how this dieback has taken place. This area where you can see that no trees, these were dense forests in Bige in Papua New Guinea. Now because of this pollution, which is about more than 20-25 kilometers from that mine plant, but such type of pollutions take place. So the biodiversity get damaged. Now the thing is, how will you restore this is? So this restoration of the biodiversity, it will have to be done by a very systematic planning, and for that we will have to keep a target, and that target, what exactly we will be restoring, that will determine that how the system will be exactly serving our future purposes. Now defining that purpose, and then we will have to eliminate the harmful development and support good response care, so that we can get a solutions in the future, that again the biodiversity get restored, even if not in the original form, but it can be in a form that will be supporting our changing scenarios, changing demands. And for that, one thing we must acknowledge, that regeneration is a very long process, and once this ecosystem have lost their biodiversity and most of their ecosystem functions and services, to gain it back, we will have to invest, we will have to monitor, and we will have to do. And for that's why, once you keep it, one thing is there in many of the mining land, if you don't do, if you just leave it there, then also it restores. That is a natural restoration. Many of the places do get, but that will be taking a much longer period. So we will have to go for a technical reclamation, and then we will have to we can do it. Technical restoration means, you have seen in a overburden dump, we will have to do a proper reclamation of the dump, means you will have to stabilize the slopes, you will have to maintain that in what type of drainage will be coming, and then that technical reclamations will be exactly giving a restructuring of the landform, and then you may require some soil, topsoil, you may bring it over there, and then you will be doing a planting, your sowing of the plants. So that means certain interventions will be given by our human effort, so that the nature get little bit of additional strength, and then your activities you can give assistance to these restorations. And then, because this adverse effect which may come if you do not restore, that need to be properly taken care of. And this target fixation, the target for restoration, will be based on the baseline study what you will be doing in that particular type of mining. And for that, whether your attempts are resulting in this biodiversity restoration has started or not, this can be done by monitoring. That monitoring of the biodiversity is exactly a systematic and focused observation and measurement of the present changes in the biodiversity, and whether there is a how the gene structures functions, how it is responding to your efforts need to be monitored. And for that, a new type of your biodiversity monitoring instrumentations and data collections and data analysis have now come up, and to that we have yet to start a lot of activities in our post mining mine sites, because many a time we do not keep records that even if you do 1 million plantations, but only few thousands have survived, but we never monitored that in why and how that death rate of those plants have taken place. Now biodiversity monitoring will have to do this measurement, and then in that how dynamically the changes are taking place, and that is what exactly the basic goal of your biodiversity monitoring is, to measure the direction and speed of the present changes within the system, how it is taking place, how much exactly the total amount of oxygen getting produced, or that how much exactly the soil organic carbon is being restored, or how much carbon dioxide is getting emitted from that area. All these things can be instrumentally monitored, and on that basis we can decide that what type of your supporting actions will have to be taken. To measure this change of biodiversity and effects of the factors causing the changes, as well as the relative importance of these factors will have to be established. And then this monitoring will also help you for understanding the mechanisms involved, that is exactly if the biodiversity is changing, whether it is a positive change is coming or not, you can analyze only by measuring. And that's why that you will have to predict the future changes, then only you can take actions. So when you have to do the monitoring, will have to be collection and analysis of the repeated observations or measurements to evaluate the changes in conditions. That is the basic definitions of monitoring. And you will have to see that you are not doing, you are just observing, that you are monitoring a neutral observation. That is exactly what happens, and you are recording it. And then you do a little bit of early warning system. If you are sensing that something is dying, some leaves are browning in a very early stage, then you can decide that what must we take actions, that you will be going little bit more deeper, whether any micronutrients loss or any invasion by other species, or a different type of minerals or different type of chemicals have invaded your area. Or then you will have to find out the monitoring for indicators of biodiversity change, and then if the changes is taking place, you will have to ask the question, what is important, if this is okay or not. Then you will be finding out why does change happen. That is, you will have to go for finding out the cause and effect relationship, so that you can scientifically establish what to be done. And then how does change happen? You will have to know the process. That if you know the process, then again you can conduct additional research to find out that what will be the best for that post mining site. And then we will have to understand the full picture. So by that you will have to do as a model development. So as if you go on working in this area to do some high-end research, these are to be addressed, and then experimentally we will have to find it out, that to how we intervene. You will be developing now small pot exercise, you will be doing a different experiment in the laboratory, and then you will be finding out. So that goes when we go on a detailed study on this area. So but one thing is there, you will have to take care of this biodiversity by either legislative reform that we have already in our country, that your mineral policy and this has got changed. Now our that mine closure plan is mandatory. They have got also that different framework has been given. So those legislative reform will have to be implemented and reduce the resource input. That means while you are doing the mining or even the post mining care, you must see that the resource as water or energy, or that exactly the materials which you will be requiring for that will have to be reduced. And also you will have to go on improving the efficiency. Efficiency, again, it is just like you are reducing the input, but you will have to make this your output more, because this output upon input is your efficiency, and that one will have to be improved. And then you will have to also reevaluate the cut-off grade. That means whether you are producing more wastes, then if your poor cut-off grades are also you can mine, but those waste materials will have to be used. And that again you will have to think of those cleaner production principle we have discussed, that by that way you will have to reevaluate, and then you will have to introduce or get, that is what is called your environmentally friendly mining or a cleaner mining. Those will have to be brought, that is your green mining concepts will have to be brought in, and then you will be automatically, when you will be going to apply green mining principle, means your waste disposal will have to be proper. That is your no emissions principle will have to be followed, and for that you exactly reduce the waste output, and that cleaner productions will ultimately give you what is called your biodiversity care. So what is we learn from here, that means to maintain biodiversity, land and water you should identify, handle trade-off and synergic between the user needs and the measures taken. We must do that much mining, that is when whatever the waste will be generated, how much biodiversity will be affected, we can restore this. This balancing is very, very important, and we will have to get nature-based solution and collaborative action. That is exactly environmental issues can be done by the collaborative actions with the society and the community nearby, because they have lived without mining, they have sustained their living, their culture, their livelihood, their well-being over the years. Then we must do things in accordance with that. And there should be a natural biodiversity monitoring framework in the nationwide. How, I have not gone through much on that, but definitely certain initiatives are taken. But we should also, the mining community should develop a own monitoring, that is your monitoring framework, and a national level data analytics and data management systems and a display system may come up. Some of you, if you are interested, can come out with a proposal like that, and a national level biodiversity monitoring for mining can come up. And then you should minimize adverse impacts on biodiversity and maximum conservation opportunities. It will have to be ensured while doing the mine planning and the sustainable mine planning and the mine closure planning. And companies should seek to achieve net positive effect on biodiversity, that nature positive mining, nature positive effects will have to be taken. And in that, the mining company must keep a target of demonstrating corporate commitment to biodiversity, and for that adopt an ecosystem approach in all the activities, including the post mining care. And then assess the biodiversity impact, that how that is we'll have to develop a methodology and an indicator that by which this biodiversity impact will be evaluated. So that is another work will have to be done. And those impact, once you find out the indicator, then you can find out what will be the mitigating measure that will have to be taken out. And you will have to undertake a comprehensive identification of actual biodiversity impact. Many times, whatever you see, that may be a tip of the iceberg, there will be a lot of that hidden things may be there, which will be a very risky in near future. We will have to identify that when we go for a proper biodiversity management for the environmental care in a post mining mine site. So our main approach will be monitor, measure and report performance on biodiversity management in post mining mine sites, and address the biodiversity issues adequately with the closure and rehabilitation plans. And that's why a total holistic systematic approach is there, and that will have to be there, and then only the mining and post mining management can lead to transition to nature positive future. So I hope you have understood these things, and then you can take up a learning activity as I have given here. Explore the internet to determine the ecological impacts of deep sea tailings placement from Lihir and Mishima Island mining in the Pacific Ocean. So you will have to study the mining in a global manner, what is happening in Congo, that your diamond mines, or what is happening in the gold mines of Papua New Guinea are also important to know, because our earth is affected by wherever the work is being taken up. So this Lihir Island in Pacific Ocean, they are doing the gold mining, and the processing materials are exactly discharged at a deep level of the ocean, so that the ocean floor is getting now full of those exactly waste of your gold ore processing. So there has been a lot of studies that how exactly sea floor is getting affected by this. This is also done at a Mishima Island, also in South Pacific near Papua New Guinea above Australia. You need to see these things. Similarly, you use this RS and GIS and assess the impacts of mining on the Saranda forest of Jharkhand. Saranda forest of Jharkhand is the one of that we can say that is our future steel demand in the country by 2030 can be fulfilled and by self-sufficiently only if we can explain that you can excavate the iron ore which is lying in the Bonai range of mountains hills at Singhbhum, West Singhbhum district. So there in Odisha also part of that. So what is happening, the biodiversity in that year, it will be a big challenging things for the mining community. So you please explore these two activities will help you in getting a proper idea about what biodiversity can be managed in which way. And there are a lot of literatures are available. A few examples I have given over here. I hope that you will start working on this subject today. Thank you.